Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Lady Justice Talks, where curiosity meets law. Today we're going to be talking about redefining success, building wealth, confidence, and community in law with Lauren. Would you like to please introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you. I'm so excited to be here. And I love all the topics that we're going to be talking about today. So my name is Lauren Klein. I'm a trust and estates and tax attorney. I currently co-own with my best friend a boutique law firm, Flourish Law Group. Prior to that, I left Big Law to start the firm. So I'll kind of give you a little bit of my background and my journey and kind of how I got here, because it has been a journey, let me tell you.
Oh my God. Yes, please do. I think that's actually the perfect question to start with, just to get to know about you and where you come from and how you got to where you are. So please feel free to.
Thank you. Thank you. So I started my career actually in finance. So I was in undergrad right around 2008, 2009 is when I was graduating. So it was a very fascinating time to be in the financial industry. I was interning at that point at one of the large national brokerages and kind of getting to see behind the scenes, the stock market crumbling and the real estate world. It was insane. And the broker I was working with said to me, he's like, I think you would be great in the financial industry, but I just don't think this is the right time for someone to be going into this industry. He's like, maybe do something for a little bit. So I was like, well, I always kind of thought I would go to law school. And so I actually only applied to one law school. I had no idea. I had no one in my family who was a lawyer. I didn't know any lawyers. This was kind of before podcasts were available. The internet was around, obviously.
Yeah, all the resources, yes.
Yeah, there just weren't as many resources. And I kind of just figured, well, law school is law school. I'll get into a great school. This will be amazing. And it actually worked out really well. I'm actually an adjunct professor now at the law school I went to. So it's all come very full circle. But went to law school, was not sure what I was going to do, but then I ended up taking a wills and trust class, which I absolutely loved, and I now teach, and a tax class. And at first I did not want to take the tax class. The professor basically strong-armed me into it. But as soon as I took it, something just clicked.
Okay, yeah, there is always those professors that know where you are gonna. It's like as if they know something you don't know. But that's so amazing. You do. So you said you're a professor, and then you also launched Flourish Group with your best friend. Would you mind telling us about that a little more? Because that sounds so interesting. Who wouldn't want to have a whole legal firm with their own best friend?
I have to say, it has been a lot of fun. And I will also say, we started the firm also because we are different and we have different skill sets, and we thought that would be really amazing. Being best friends is just the cherry on top. It's so nice that she's in St. Pete, I'm in Fort Lauderdale, so we get to hang out all day on Zoom. It's a lot of fun. We get to build something together. But I would recommend anyone that you partner with, make sure it will be a good business partnership, because it's like a marriage in a lot of ways. But it has been really great. And it's been so cool to build something on our own, create a client experience that we really believe in. We only do tax and trust and estates. So we do a lot of estate planning for high net worth clients and non-high net worth clients. We do probate administration. But we're about 3 years in, and we've grown exponentially, and we've learned a lot. Entrepreneurship, I always say, is like the best therapy you'll ever get, because it really teaches you about yourself and who you are. So it's been really great. And we both left, big companies. So it's been a big learning curve. I was in Big Law for many years with Holland and Knight, and my law partner was with one of the big banks as a corporate fiduciary. So we took kind of what we learned in those big firm experiences and brought it to the boutique firm that we've created. It's been really cool.
So what exactly made you guys, going from big law firms, that's a lot of people's dreams that are in law school, to just work in them? What made you guys leave those and begin your own, launch the Flourish Law Group, and then you also have the Wealthy Law Squad.
Yeah. So I would say what really made me decide to start my own firm was I when I started the Wealthy Lawyer Squad, which was right around the time I went into big law, and that was really born from me wanting to learn about personal finance and personal development, which led me to creating a community, the Wealthy Lawyer Squad, and courses and programs for law students and lawyers who want to do things differently, who want to find success, financial success, well-being, mental well-being, physical well-being. It's basically a community where I have two programs: the law school success blueprint and the lawyer success blueprint. So those are kind of different tracks, live programs that we do, modules from overcoming procrastination to learning how to overcome anxiety and stress, money mindset, creating your dream lawyer life, all of those things. But as I started to do this personal development work, I was about to make partner in big law, and I took a step back and I said, okay, where do I see myself in 5 years and 10 years? What do I want to be doing? What do I want my life to look like? I also had just had two babies during COVID. And so I kind of really was like, where do I see myself going? And I think what happens in the law is we often feel like we've chosen a path and we have to stay on that path at all costs, no matter what. And I would really challenge that and think, and I would challenge you to think, what do I actually want out of my life, this one precious life that we get? And I realized that being a partner in big law was not what I wanted out of this life. I wanted to build something of my own. I wanted to have flexibility. I wanted to create a client experience that I really believed in. So all of that kind of, came together, and Flourish Law Group was born from all of those. Where do I see myself, and who do I want to be as a lawyer, and how do I want to serve my clients? So it's been an incredible journey. It really has.
No, and that's amazing. And I actually love the group. I mean, the name of your law group. It's like very like attracting when you hear like flourish. Like we're so just all positive. And in regards to the wealthy lawyer, how would you say that you came around choosing the name?
So it's really funny. We're still going to call the community the Wealthy Lawyer Squad. We're rebranding the brand as a whole to Legal and Wealthy. But to me, I really wanted a name that embodied how I wanted to feel. And I want to wake up every day and feel like a wealthy lawyer. And to me, that means, financial wealth, but also mental well-being and physical wealth, and just a life that I love and a life that I get to wake up and I'm excited for, a life that I really, really believe in. And that to me is a wealthy lawyer. It's being able to create my day. And, that may not happen in the beginning of your career necessarily, but you'll get to the point where you can do that and you can decide your own path, whether that's practicing law or not, or how you do it. To me, it's the freedom and the flexibility to live a life that we want. And that's what we all deserve, truly.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people, when they hear the word wealthy, they just think about like monetary or like money. But being wealthy is just more than that. It's just about being happy, about being content, about everything around you. It has nothing to do with like, oh, how much money I have to buy this stuff. Like it does, but it's not just all of it. Like to me, at least being wealthy is like knowing that I have my family. Being wealthy is knowing that I can get the education that I'm getting right now, having the options, like having the choices to like make. So thank you for touching upon that. And since we're talking about wealthy, would you mind telling us about the money piece, since you also worked in big law and were surrounded by so many lawyers with different statuses?
Yeah. So this is probably the part I get most excited to talk
Mm,
about. So,
mm,
money is not everything, but I do
mm.
strongly believe that a healthy relationship with money and growing the wealth that we all deserve is an amazing thing. It's not the only thing. If we only focus on the money and leave the happiness and the well being and the balance behind, I think that's very dangerous. But I love when I build wealth, when my clients build wealth, when my coaching clients build wealth, because it buys you freedom. It buys you the ability to do good in the world, to provide for your family. There's so many incredible things about being a wealthy lawyer that I really, really want everyone to have, because it's very interesting. This is a statistic I actually only ran across about a year and a half ago. Only about depending on the statistic you look at, about 8% of lawyers are millionaires, which is mind boggling because a lot of people think, okay, you become a lawyer and you become wealthy. And I can tell you that I have seen it firsthand. There's a lot of lawyers who maybe don't earn a lot, but there are a lot of lawyers who earn a lot of money, but they also spend a lot of money. They spend a lot of money, I think, because one, status, the keeping up with the Joneses, I think that happens a lot, especially in bigger law firms. Also, we work really hard, and so we want to reward ourselves.
Yeah.
We want to shop, we want to travel, we want to buy a bigger house, a bigger car. But and I love all of those things. Those are great things. But at what expense? If we're stuck
Yes.
in our job, if we don't have the ability to pivot and move, if we reach retirement and we don't have enough retirement saved, if we're not able to enjoy the money in a meaningful way throughout our lives and at the end of our career, then what are we doing it all for? If we're not being tax efficient, if we don't have a good handle on what we're doing with our money and what's coming in,
Yes.
what's going out, how do we grow it? How do we not only trade time for money, but also invest? And, that can be many, many different avenues. But we miss all of that often as lawyers because we're just so focused on our law career, that I think that's one of the biggest reasons there are so few lawyers who are actually millionaires.
Yeah, and I also do think that's like a lot of people, like you said, think that when they become a lawyer, they're automatically rich like that, but they also forget about the actual saving part, the future planning, the estate planning, all of those. And I think I mentioned this before, but it's not just about living, having to like, they shouldn't forget that it's not just about living in the moment. Obviously, there's like statuses to keep up, I'm guessing stereotypes to keep up, just trying to want to fit. It comes from wanting to fit in as well, especially if you're working in big law, and you're dealing with like high net worth clients as well. You want to look and present yourself a specific way. So I would think that maybe that's also one place that all of those like money spendings drive from. But yeah, it's important to think not just about now, but also about the future, which I was thinking, what do you think are some common myths like that law students or like people that are starting earlier, like early careers right now, should let go of regarding all of these?
So I think one of the biggest myths is that you will automatically earn a lot of money. But and I hope you do, but I think it's also important to be realistic and I don't want to use the word budget because it feels limiting, and I don't mean to be limiting, but having an understanding of what you're earning, and how much you're putting away for retirement and how much you're saving, and having an understanding of being intentional about what you actually care about and what you might want because you think it's something you're supposed to have. Because at the end of the day, all we have to do is put our heads, down on our pillow and be happy with our own lives. No one else is thinking about us. That's just the reality. I think another misconception is that if you go get a job at a big firm or any firm, you're going to be set. But I think what a lot of people don't realize is the tax code is really written to benefit entrepreneurs, not W-2 employees. And not saying that there's anything wrong with being an employee, but I think it is a consideration to make when you decide as you move through your career path. I definitely encourage most people, some people start their firm right away, and I think that's amazing. But I do think for most people, it makes sense to go and learn and work at a firm and learn before you ever think about starting your own. But you need to be mindful of the fact that you won't be the most tax efficient by just being a W-2. And maybe that means you are an employee, but then you also invest in real estate. So you can take tax deductions because if you're W-2, you're taxed at the highest amount. There's only limited deductions that you can take unless you start a business or you invest in real estate. And then I think the other misconception is people just don't understand when you become a partner at a firm, kind of the financials behind that. And even I was really taken aback, and each firm is different.
Tuition and all that.
Yeah, I mean, like equity versus non-equity partners, and a lot of partners, take out mortgages on their homes to become equity partners. Partners often don't get paid. Like when you're an associate, you're typically getting paid, twice a month. That's kind of standard, or once a month. When you're a partner, you may only get paid once a year. And so it's a very different way of planning financially. And I wish there was a class in law school that talks about kind of the financial aspects of being a lawyer. Each of the things I just talked about, because there's just things that I wouldn't have even known if I hadn't like asked the partner I was working with, like, hey, how do you become an equity partner? What does that actually mean? What do I have to do for that? And I was blown away. I had no idea. No idea.
No, yeah, as you said you didn't have anybody like that went to law school. Neither do I. Like, I don't have anybody, so I'm also finding out everything by myself. And like, I guess I'm so happy that everything has evolved and clubs like Willa exist. Because I'm also like, there's a lot of questions that come to my mind, and I'm like, hmm, how do I find the answers to this? Because I'm not in law school yet, even. But I need to like find them out before I go to law school. And it's just so nice to have like people to talk to, like my peers. So I also wanted to know, you said you're a professor, correct?
Yes.
What would you say? So when you were going to law school, you said that you weren't even looking into tax law. It was, you just took it, and it turned out to be what exactly you were looking for. What would you say as a professor? What is your advice to like law students? Because there's also like many different types of laws, but a lot of students stick to specific, like just family, corporate, or like I don't know, like tort law, for example, like very specific ones. What would you say you have some advice for law students?
So this is actually something that I talk about with my students as a professor, that I talk about with my coaching clients as their coach in the Wealthy Lawyer Squad, and also that my law partner and I talk about a lot. I think the best advice that I could give, blanket advice, obviously there might be exceptions, is try different things, because you won't know what you like until you actually try. The second best, and I can expand on that further, but the second best piece of advice, if you don't necessarily want to try different things, is take different lawyers for coffee who are in different practice areas. Ask them about their day to day. Ask them about what their life looks like. Because maybe you think you might want to do litigation, but litigation, you have to have a personality that can pivot very quickly, and you may not know what your day is going to look like, and things can go off the rails, or it's about building relationships with judges. So maybe that would be a great fit for you, maybe not. So try different things, try different internships, clerkships, jobs, see what your law school has to offer. I know like my law school has like different clinics that you can try, including a tax clinic. I would just say try different things, because when else are you going to have the opportunity to see what interests you, even before law school? Be a clerk at a firm or a receptionist and try to get an understanding of how the firm operates and how the lawyers practice, because you just don't know until you actually get into it.
Yeah, like ever since I've started doing more research or getting more involved or talking to more people, I found out so many stuff that I would not have found. Like, it's just some stuff that you won't find out unless you talk to people and it comes up. Because there's a lot of people that go throughout their lives without knowing a specific thing. Like, I feel like a lot of those stuff in law school is the same thing. You might go through like I've heard about people going through a whole law school, like all 3 years or 4 years, and then they don't know anything until after they graduate, when they should have known it like in the beginning. And honestly, I was just thinking, I'm in awe of how much you do. Like, you balance so much. Like, while you were speaking to us about all of these stuff, like I just realized, like, wow, like there's a professor, there's your own law group, there's a wealthy lawyer, there's just so much. So that just made me question, how do you balance, like, and you said you are a mother, how do you balance motherhood, entrepreneurship, and law? Like, how do you stay grounded while everything is happening, and also with your own mental health, like well-being, and also having that. Well, I've heard from a lot of lawyers, they say that there's not really that much work-life balance, but how do you like keep yourself grounded in regards to that?
I think like the new phrase is work life integration. That's what I've been hearing more of, because
Oh.
balance might be a misnomer. I would say that it's a few things. One, I don't do it all. I delegate a lot. We have a team with Flourish Law Group. I have people who I don't do my own laundry anymore. I don't clean my own house anymore because I read there was a book by Rachel Rogers, We Should All Be Millionaires. And she talks a lot about, calculating what your hourly rate is and then delegating the things that either you don't like or are not the best use of your time. So I'm really, really big on delegating and having a team. Right now, my littlest one, he's not in school on preschool on Tuesdays. You might have even heard him in the background. I have my mom watching him. So I'm very lucky to have an incredible support system around me. It's also organization, right? It's staying organized. It's calendar, time blocking. It's utilizing AI, like putting my calendar in and what can I do? How can I organize my day better? How can I organize my week or my month better? It's being really intentional about my goals and how I'm actually going to execute on them. And that again includes having the team who does the best, with this part of it and that part of it. And I think it's also, you mentioned, well-being. It's taking breaks. I have recently implemented, I have a daily steps goal in addition to, I try to do cardio and weightlifting multiple times a week, but just every time I take a break and I walk around the neighborhood for 15, 20 minutes, I come back, I feel so much better. I feel so much fresher. So it's like giving yourself the permission to take care of yourself as well, I think is really, really important. But I would say if I could kind of sum all of that up, whatever is important to you, you will make the time for it. We will make the time for what is important to us. And so it's being really intentional about how you spend your time, the people you spend your time with. Are they giving you energy or are they taking energy away from you? I think that all of that is really important. And if you are excited about something and something lights you up, it doesn't take your energy. It just brings you energy. So find what excites you, find the area of law or the career path that excites you and just go full speed ahead with that.
Yeah, I totally understand that. Obviously, on a different level because I'm still a student, but Google Calendar and me are best friends right now. Especially right now that's summer. I took a full course load. I'm saying this because also a lot of viewers are going to be students right now. Guys, I'm taking a full course load, and I work basically 4 times a week, and I still want to hang out with my friends and family. A lot of times I'm not even home. My mom is like, "I don't see you." And I'm like, I'm here, I promise. But especially, and there are times that I feel, especially this summer specifically, has been so busy with me, with having to do so many extracurriculars, and then just also my job and my school that I prioritize the most. Well, after family, and then. And it's just been, there has been days that I've had to take to myself. There has been days that I've had to I had planned the whole day, but I had to cut back on something. And I just wanted to add on and say that is okay to do. Cause everybody has their own schedule, which this is something I like to remind everybody is that you're not competing with other people. If you want to compete with somebody, you're competing with yourself. You're trying to constantly be a better version of yourself, which is why also you have to see what works for you. For example, as you mentioned, you were working at one of the big laws about to make partner, which seems like the dream for many people, but that didn't work for you. And from that came, and you followed your gut and you followed your heart and became and did something that actually mattered to you and what you wanted to do. And that turned out to be one of the most successful, amazing things you've ever done. So I just wanted to add on that it's important to do what you feel like doing and following the path that you want to feel, because even if your path seems very similar to somebody else, there's always something that's different. So not everything is going to work for the same people. And I really much suggest Google Calendar.
Yes.
I
Me
love
too. I literally can see my Google Calendar on my other screen right now. Live and die by my Google Calendar. And I love that you said sometimes you just have to take a break, because I think especially for those of us who are A-type, we often feel if we're not productive, we don't have value, but we have to rest. We have to recharge. I feel in the law, we don't talk about our nervous system nearly enough. We have to regulate our nervous system. We're dealing with a lot of clients and stories and stuff and other attorneys, and you have to be able to take breaks and know when your body and your mind needs a break. And you should never feel guilty about that, because we have to take care of ourselves first. No one else is going to.
Yeah, and like if you don't take breaks and you don't take care of yourself, then who's going to do the job that you're doing? That's also another way to think about it that I like to remind
Mm-hmm.
myself. Like I know how much I care about like being in a customer service role. I know how much I care about the people that I help and how much energy I put into it. Um if I were to not prioritize my own like mental health and well-being and just take like even a 5 minute break in the middle, then who else is going to do perform my job? I don't know how much other people care. I'm just trying to do like my best, like myself. And I want those people to have somebody who's there for them, that is there to help them and hear them, and that person is me. So obviously you have to, that's also another way, just so some people don't feel guilty about it. I feel like that's also another way to think about it. Like nobody else can do your job as well as you do. So, I mean,
I
obviously there's always going to be
agree.
somebody,
I
but
no, I agree. And that sometimes can take the guilt off a little bit. You're like, this is so I can be a better me in this role,
yeah.
career, family, life, friends, whatever it might be.
Yeah, and also cutting something out doesn't mean that you're not going to come back to it. It's just a little bit of a time difference.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
um,
I agree.
and well, thank you so much for telling us about the whole integration, work-life integration you said. That was interesting. I hadn't heard of that before, but that actually makes so much more sense. We're just wondering, like, being the Woman in Law Club, as a very successful woman that we could all look up to, what's another piece of advice you could give but to women entering law school who's like interested in tax, trust, and estate laws? Because I feel like that might also be a very much male dominated field. How did you navigate that?
So I definitely think that, obviously the numbers of women in law school is often exceeding men now, but when you still look at, partnership, and especially in big firms, it's still mostly predominantly male. And I have mostly worked with predominantly male teams. And I would say, men and women do operate differently. It's just the reality, and it's such a male energy often in the law that I think that we have to be really aware of that and take care of ourselves and be true to ourselves, because I feel that being a woman in the law has given me an incredible advantage. The way that I work with my clients and talk with them, and not that men can operate in the same way, but I just think that the skills that I have and the way that I practice has really been beneficial. But it also has been very challenging at times. I used to feel for many years that I had to outwork everyone to prove my worth, and I think that as women, we often feel that way. And I think sometimes the law makes us feel that way. So I would say take care of yourself, find mentors, join the Women in Law Association, have your tribe of people that you can go to be like, is this normal? Or was this okay? Or have you ever experienced this? And what did you do? Or what did you wish that you did? Because I think that we have to stick together, because the law in general for any gender can be very, very difficult. But if you are a woman, or if you are, maybe you don't have you don't identify with a certain gender, it can be much more difficult, and it presents other challenges. So find your tribe, carve your own path, whatever that looks like. I do think that we need more women in tax. We need more women in trusts and estates. If it's an area that you're interested in, it is a wonderful area. I love the work that I do. I love to get to know, like I said, getting to know my clients and getting to know their lives and seeing how they built their wealth and helping them protect it. I love that. I really, really enjoy it a lot. So, um, you know, consider law schools that maybe have a tax LLM, or a law school that has great tax courses. Do that research ahead of time if it's an area that you think you might like. And if you're not sure, just take a tax class. Just do it. Don't be scared by the numbers. I know I was. But what I'm saying is, like, if you're not sure, just try it. Don't be scared. We only get this one life. Try all the things. Try and see what works for you. And don't ever let anyone tell you what you can or can't do, because that's just nonsense, in my opinion.
No, I agree, and I'm so glad you put that definition of tax law and what you do exactly, like learning your client stories and helping them better it, or like plan for future and all that, because I feel like a lot of people forget that that's what tax law is about. It's not just like you said, all about the numbers or anything, which might scare a lot of people off. Like I was kind of one of those people, but so that's why I'm so glad we had this conversation. It was so good. And so you said you work with a lot of clients and regarding estates and helping them. So in your experience helping clients build legacies, how do you approach like long term thinking in both your legal and work life?
Yeah, so I would say when it comes to working with our estate planning clients, we really try to get to know the family and get to know their goals, get to know who they are, what really matters to them now and in the future. Because we always tell our clients, this plan, we are hoping that we all live very long and full lives, and the plan works. The plan works for that, hopefully, reality. But also, unexpected things happen. So we want to make sure that the plan also works for today. So a lot of what we do as estate planning attorneys and tax attorneys is understand the family, their dynamics, their goals, their assets. Are they, in renting out a property? Are they planning to continue to do that? Do they maybe want different properties to go to different children because they know that some children, they want this beach house, but the other child really wants the primary residence. It has more meaning to them. We really get into the nitty gritty and get very, very deep with them on what their intentions are. And sometimes that includes, tax planning and making sure that we set things up in a way that is very tax efficient. Sometimes it's Medicaid planning for someone who is on the elderly side. So there's so many different things that we think about. And it's really funny because Flourish Law Group and the Wealthy Lawyer Squad, there's a lot of overlap, right? Because we're talking about money, and money always brings up different emotions and
Yeah.
different, maybe traumas from childhood or young adulthood or even adult life. And so we're talking about money, we're talking about legacy, we're talking about death with clients. And so I'm often taking a lot of the tools that I use with my coaching clients. Our estate planning clients don't even know we're doing it, but we do it in a
Yes.
way that we help them work through some of those concerns and some of those considerations, and help them maybe do a family meeting with their children if it makes sense, to explain, this is what your parents are setting up, your grandparents are setting up for your legacy, this is what it means, this is how it actually works. Because money is something that we think about all the time, but that we don't often understand our relationship with. And to kind of take that in a different direction, that's really why the Wealthy Lawyer Squad was born. I grew up in a family that had, middle class, nothing crazy, but I never really knew what to do with money. And so especially when I went into big law and I started earning, multiple six figures, I was like, what do I do with this money? Because I looked around and I saw everyone was just spending it. They were just spending it, and I love nice things, but I don't want to have nice things at the expense of my freedom and at the expense of my life. So that's really how the community was born, because I started reading every book I could get my hands on personal finance and personal development. I had a long commute at that time. I was listening to all these podcasts because I'm like, I want to take all these little, this army of dollars and make it work for me, not just me working for the money.
Of course, I feel like a lot of people forget that, like, obviously spending money on nice things is good and it does make a lot of people happy, but I feel like they forget that they have to, like, it's not just about living in the moment. Like, you still have to take care of yourself for, like when you're like 10 years later, right? You do have to have some like future plans to make sure that the way you're going to live is just not going to be good right now, but also good in the future, because like hopefully you will live a long life, right? And about your Flourish boutique, you were saying that you get to know the stories very deeply, and you have to connect with them and learn about them. Does that ever like have any setbacks or any like because you get emotionally involved. How my question basically is, how would you like stop yourself from getting like too emotionally involved in their situation or whatever they're going through or what their story is? Because you have to learn it to know what it works for them best and what legal advice to give them, but you also don't want to get too emotionally involved so you can focus on your job and do it properly. At least that was my take. So that's why I was just wondering if I could ask about that, because I have a problem with
Yeah.
that. I have a problem with like, I'm gonna be honest. Whenever clients come to me to talk about like, and they tell me like, please help me. Like, I'm going through this, I'm going through this. Like, all I want to do is help them, but I have to remind myself like, you can't have like an emotional bond with them in that way. Like, you're gonna do your best to help them, but just forget, like, remember, like, those are like clients too. So
That's a really good question. I don't think anyone has ever asked me that question before, so I love it. I would say, and I say this to clients all the time, again, with the client that I just got off the call with, I said this too. We were talking about transferring an investment property into an LLC, and that could increase property taxes, but it will also increase, creditor protection. And they said to me something that clients say all the time: "What would you do?"
yeah.
And I love these clients. They're very nice. They're parents of a friend of mine, and so I care about all of my clients, but I deeply care about them making the right decision and them feeling
Yeah, of course.
satisfied with the advice we give. So what I said to them was, I said, I can only tell you the legal and the tax implications of the planning, but I can take my lawyer hat off for a moment and I can tell you what I would do. And so I make it clear I'm not telling you what to do because it's a business decision in many ways. But I said I would analyze, how much that property tax increase would be. Are you willing to increase the rent for the tenant? And then go from there and see what makes the most sense. But it is sometimes hard, and I think especially for Kristen and myself, my law partner, we do get involved and we do want people to feel really cared for and taken care of. And so we do sometimes have to kind of set that boundary of we are your lawyer and we are providing counsel and advice on, if you do this, then this will happen. If you do that, then that will happen. So yeah, I think sometimes it's just kind of, being clear where the boundary is, and then kind of saying, here's probably what I would do. But it also, sometimes we have clients, who are passing, and that's really emotionally triggering sometimes, because we're talking about, and on the one hand, it's lovely. We hear about their lives and their experiences, and sometimes these clients have had, especially when I love when it's an older woman. I feel like society really does not show the right amount of respect to older women. And when we get to hear their story and all the cool things they've done and the advice that they have, like, it is so meaningful. But then we also do have to take a step back, and we are the lawyer, and make sure that we are looking at everything very sharply as the attorney, and making sure that we're advising the client properly. But yeah, there is a fine line, I would say, especially in trust and estates. And sometimes it's about setting boundaries with yourself, and also knowing your worth. Sometimes it's like, should we charge for this? Oh my gosh. And unless it's pro bono, we'll make a decision, but we have to know our worth and the value that we're providing to clients. So it can be a delicate balance. I love that question. I'm glad you asked that.
Thank you. It's just that, yeah, because I've like obviously nowhere close to you, but in my profession that has to do with customer service, I do deal with a lot of that. Like, people tell me their stories and they're like, please help me do this, or like just obviously not big things like you're doing, like changing, but just generally with like stuff that they need help with, and I have to make it clear that I hear them, I understand them, and I want to help them, but there's also specific rules and policies that I have to follow, and it wouldn't be fair if I were to act differently for one client than I would for another client. But obviously, I do my best to help them in any way I can, so it's not even that I'm not like trying to help them. And usually that comes in now when I make it known that I understand. But I also wanted to see, because I'm just a person that like empathizes a lot, and like also like I guess sympathy. I just wanted to know, and like I want to go into a future in law, so I was just also wondering like how like lawyers actually deal with those, because especially if you're learning about their whole history and like their whole story and who they have under them, like just generally. But thank you so much. I think you answered that pretty perfectly, and you made it really clear with the boundary setting and all of those. Thank you so much for touching upon everything. I think I asked all my questions. Sorry for yapping so much, talking so much. I had an amazing time. We learned so much. This is why I love Willa and doing podcasts. I get to speak to such inspiring people like you, and honestly, you open doors, like genuinely, for me or whoever's watching it, and make us think about like different paths and what else we can do, and to think of new perspectives, which is why I love this. Thank you so much for having being here with us. Did you enjoy? Did you have fun?
Oh my gosh, I could talk with you all day. You're so good at this. It was such a fun conversation, and I can't wait
Awesome.
to see how you thrive in your career. You're gonna absolutely kill it, I can tell.
Thank you so much. We'll definitely be in contact with you, and we wish you the best. We can't wait for everything. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, everybody. We'll be back with you another episode. Hope you enjoyed. Bye.
Bye.